Using your duty pistol to shoot out tires or to try to shoot out a car block? That's stupid. Hi everyone, welcome to today's badge cam lesson here at Active Self-Protection. I'm your host, John Correa.
And I'm your co-host, Mike Williver. Today's video comes to us from Sand Springs, Oklahoma.
Today's video brought to you by New Way Ford. New Way helps people all over the country find the right new or used car at the best price with incredible service. We bought Mrs. Asp's 2021 Bronco Sport from New Way, and I'm a satisfied customer. If you see me rolling in my New Way Ford F-150, come say hi and let New Way give you a quote on your next vehicle purchase.
If you go watch the original on this one and read the news stories, you will see this started as a guy who stole a weed eater from a hardware store. And then officers found the vehicle description, come to find out that vehicle is stolen. They started chasing him through town and chased him all over the place, including driving the wrong way on roads and endangering a whole bunch of motorists. Then he got on the freeway. It's raining out and at very high speeds. You're going to see them here use what they call a tactical vehicular interception, or what we would normally call a pit maneuver. And let's listen in on the audio from the couple of badge cams from here.
Still westbound 64, speeds 90 miles an hour, light rain. TVI. Who's involved? Start firing instant.
Stop! 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 He just rammed us. Shots fired! Shots fired! Still westbound 64, speeds 90 miles an hour, light rain. TVI. Troopers involved, start firing IMSA. Stop the car! Shots fired! Shots fired!
Both of those cruisers were destroyed. The guy did run off, ended up abandoning the vehicle in a culvert a ways, a couple miles down the road, where they hid from officers. Took them over 7 hours to find these people. They, of course, are facing multiple charges. The two officers from the city police department both faced disciplinary action on this one for the pursuit, which was deemed to be out of policy, not for what we saw on camera, but for what was going on beforehand in town. The state trooper who participated in the pursuit, his actions were deemed to be in policy. That's what we've got on this one. Okay, Mike, I'm just gonna ask, were they taught this in the academy?
No.
Any in-service training teaches this?
No, also no.
So Mike, an awful lot of discussion here about vehicle pursuits and what is smart and what is wise, and is the juice worth the squeeze? Because again, this guy's endangering an awful lot of the public. He's got people inside the car, and they did say that they felt like the passenger of the car was trying to get him to pull over. So instead they do a pit maneuver on him, or a TVI, whatever you want to call it, which of course involves danger to the officer, danger to the occupants, including maybe potentially innocent occupants. And man, I just think that this whole pursuit was really dangerous, and it's worth talking about. Is it better to just let the guy go and catch him tomorrow?
Listen, we're going to catch heck in the comments like we always do about how we're coddling criminals and don't let the police do their job. I've been involved in a few pursuits over the years. A pursuit should be reserved for when there's absolutely no other possible thing we can do. There was a pursuit not long ago out in New Mexico. I think I sent you the video, John. We might cover that at some point, where city police are chasing someone who they think is kidnapped. So it was a good reason for the pursuit. Turns out it was a female pretending to be kidnapped. There was no kidnapper. And that suspect vehicle went on the wrong side of Interstate 25. And, you know, once you start, especially doing wrong way on the freeway type stuff or on a divided highway, you need to call it off. That's all there is to it. And unless there is some absolutely compelling reason, there's, you know, if you got a busload of Girl Scouts or something that are all going to get mowed down by an AK-47, okay, sure, pursue the bus. But in this case, there was no, in my mind, there was no really useful reason to be, okay, it's a stolen car. it's a 98 Tahoe, okay? And by the way, now the stolen car you're trying to recover is now wrecked. It's totaled. So what have we really accomplished here by continuing this pursuit? Very unpopular opinion in law enforcement circles, but I think the vast majority of pursuits are dangerous, pointless, and stupid, and shouldn't happen. And I was never a supervisor, by the way. That's not a supervisor's opinion. That's the opinion of someone who's been in car accidents and responded to car accidents and doesn't want to see an innocent third party going the other way on the freeway, minding their own business, get hit head on and potentially killed because we're trying to get this stolen car and weed eater back. It's just dumb.
I think we just always have to ask the question, am I putting more lives at risk or am I saving lives at risk with what I'm doing here? You know, if somebody's a murderer or somebody is wanted on violent felonies and they're going to commit more of those, maybe it's worth it. But in cases like this, man, I just think probably not the case. Now, the officer here his car's going to get wrecked up. And now he gets out and has a gun. I do like that he gets the gun out at a low ready position here, Mike, that he's not endangering the people inside the cabin. And that I do think it's fine for him to have a gun out because certainly at this point we have a felony stop.
For sure. You know, anytime at the conclusion of any pursuit I was involved in, it's by default a felony stop. Not that always means draw a gun, but 99% of the time it means draw a gun because you don't know what you're dealing with. You don't know who's in that car necessarily, or even if you do, odds are there's a better than average chance they're armed. So you want to be ready. Low ready position is the appropriate way. This is the way, as we like to say. That way you can actually see what the person's doing. If you're aimed in, you're blocking everything from the middle of their center of mass down. You can't see what their hands are doing. So up until this moment, as far as the gun handling goes, I'm fine with it. It's what happens next that is baffling to me.
Yeah, and so... Listen, always ask in that moment, is what I'm doing smart? So the officer, if you go read the news story, he then decides, I'm going to use my 9mm to take out a tire. Number one, I think we see how radically ineffective a 9mm is at rapidly decompressing a tire. Number two, this car was already wrecked up, and anything that had happened in the pit was far more what was going to get it to stop than trying to hit it with a 9mm. That also endangered people inside of the car, and also it decreases the officer's capacity to protect himself if, God forbid, they jump out and they pose a deadly threat. The chief said on this one that, hey, we take this on a case-by-case basis. We don't generally recommend it, but case-by-case we kind of do it. I'm going to say no, don't do this. This is wrong. It is a bad idea. Even if you don't get, smacked down for policy violations, this is wrong. Don't do it.
Not a fan of shooting at the tires. I know it's like something you've seen in the movies where you shoot a tire and it explodes and the car is immediately disabled. How many times have you seen a pursuit on KTLA, where someone's got one or more tires that are gone? They're riding on the rim and they're still chugging along down the road at however fast. I mean, they've been spike stripped or whatever, or they hit a curb and deflated a tire. Not having a tire doesn't necessarily stop anything. So I think at that point, what I'd like to have seen him done is flank to his right and try to get a gun on that driver and say, hey, you need to stop doing what you're doing or we'll have to use deadly force. It would have been far more effective than shooting at the tire. It's kind of ineffectual and silly. Officers don't do that.
And now, okay, so the officer inside the car now, okay, the guy hits him with the car. That's a big deal, but now he gets the gun out. And listen, shooting out of a moving vehicle is incredibly difficult. Yes, his car is in park. And okay, he feels like, gosh, this guy is going to run me over. Well, thankfully, he's inside his cruiser. He has great protection by that cruiser right now. And of course, the big problem to me is if he shoots through that window, Mike, where's that bullet going?
Well, we don't know, do we? That's the problem. This rash of shooting through the windshield, I'd love to see it die and go away. There's times when you have to. I had a guy on the podcast, Tim Grammons, who was in his car in that casket of a front seat and absolutely had to shoot through his windshield to defend himself. He couldn't do anything else, right? So, but in that moment, he's a SWAT guy. He knows, I need to get after it because these shots are going to do all sorts of goofy stuff. He had a good backdrop. In this case, I don't know what he's shooting at. Evidently the engine block, which is baffling to me.
Well, he's going to get there.
Yeah, But the idea that you're going to get effective shots off and hit the driver, because hopefully you're not shooting or aiming at the passengers. They're not the ones driving the car. They could be hostages. They could be trying to get out of the car, or like they said, trying to get him to stop. At this point, this guy's through, okay? He's through. He's gonna be able to continue on. He's pushed your car out of the way. I'll let you talk about shooting at the engine block with a 9mm through a windshield, John, because I'm just astounded this was even a thing.
Yeah, so there's the big thing. You're shooting through a windshield. That bullet's going to go you don't know where. Now, the officer said he was shooting at the engine block. He clearly moved the muzzle and moved it forward, so that certainly seems like what he was trying to do. The chances of a 9mm projectile disabling a big block V8 is like 0.000%. It is a absolute certainty that you are not going to do that. This is kind of classic tool fixation of, I gotta use this tool in my hand to solve my problem. That tool's not going to solve your problem, which is why we have to be thinkers and think with a gun in our hand. Is this the right thing for me to be doing in this moment? Because it's just simply not gonna work. And of course it doesn't work. So we see two instances here of officers kind of tool fixating and saying, I got to use the tool in my hand, which was my gun, which I don't mind them having the gun in their hand in that, in some respects. But at the same time, it was just not the right decision in those moments. Yes, these guys got away. Yes, they ended up getting him into custody. Okay, fine. I think the whole thing, we spent tens of thousands of dollars of taxpayers' money fixing police cars. We endangered dozens and dozens of members of the public. And then we took 2 shots with our handguns that were incredibly ill-advised. Not a great showing here. Let's do better to cover our ass.